Hey everyone, it's episode 20 in the Right Podcast with Kirk Fletcher. My guest today is going to be comedian Ron Feingold, who's fantastic, one of the nicest dudes in the business. I'm excited to talk to him, so let's go talk to him.
Hey,
What's up, buddy?
good to see you.
You too,
Where are
man.
you at? Are you in Colorado?
No, I'm in Rio Rancho, New Mexico.
What's her name?
Mom.
All right. Well, she lived in Albuquerque. Is that the same thing? I remember
Yeah, Rio
her.
Rancho is a suburb of Albuquerque.
Yeah, that's she was a post woman.
Yeah, you remember that. Holy shit. She's still
Yeah,
doing that. Yeah.
I remember. That's I think the closest I've ever been to the U.S. Mail before it's been delivered was hanging out with your mom.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's
I hope that
ironic.
was legal,
One of
by
her.
the way.
What's that?
Just erase that.
I will.
All right. There was no ballots or anything.
Something ironic happened the other day. One of her coworkers died. He got mauled by a dog on his day off.
Are you making that up?
No, because she told me that, and I started laughing, and she gave me a dirty look, and I was like, "It's kind of funny." I mean, that's
And
shitty.
he's dead?
Yeah, yeah. I probably
What
shouldn't have
kind of
laughed.
dog was it? Was it a
I don't even.
Chihuahua
I
or
don't
something?
even know. I hope it wasn't a chihuahua.
Even more ironic.
Yeah. So how you been, Ron? How's life treating you, man?
Um, do you want the on the surface answer or do you want the deep inside real answer?
I want whatever you want.
All right. I appreciate how open you are, man. I'm trying to hang in. It's been rough, like everybody. I
Absolutely.
mean, it could be worse. Compared to I think a lot of other people, but I think I'm at the end of my rope sometimes with this. I miss
Mhm.
performing, and I'm still performing here and there, really scattered events, really here and there stuff. I can't say that I can rely on it as an
Yeah.
income anymore. And
Mhm.
none of us can. Um, and even when we're at the venues, it's still not the same. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if it's been that way for you. I mean, even though it's decreased capacity and all that, um, it just people are very wary and I think a lot more angrier than they used to be, and just everybody's walking around like this all the time.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so it's been hard, but the good news is that I've tried to adjust, and I was gonna retire from the road full time, never retire from comedy full time, but I was gonna retire from the road after this year and not be on the road full time and just take gigs wherever I wanted to. And I was training to be an airline pilot.
I
And then
remember you
when I
telling
saw
me about
how
that.
yeah, and then when I saw how volatile the airline industry is, and it can just stop like that, I can't put all my eggs in that basket.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot of training to do for something that can stop within a day and they can just
Yeah.
furlough you and get rid of you. And I can't do that. I can't rely on it. So
Mhm.
um, I went to Plan C pretty much, which is starting this amphibious light sport aircraft discovery flight company. It's called Fly Purple,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's with I don't know if you've seen it online. The training that I've been doing.
I
I'll,
haven't.
I'll show you. Have you seen any of it?
I don't think
I'll show
so.
you a picture of it. It's called a Signet, and it's actually a light sport aircraft that it can land on water, it can land on land, and it has glider wings.
Oh,
And I've
cool.
been got about 10 hours of flight time on it. And let's
Oh, wow. That's
so
awesome.
you see it's on floats, and that's a
Yeah.
wheel right there.
Okay.
That's a wheel, and
And
then there's
those are the
another
wings
wheel
up
that
top there?
yeah, that's a glider wing. I don't know
Okay.
if you can see it. It's a glider wing.
Mm-hmm.
So it holds two people. It's like flying a motorcycle in the air. It's
Wow.
really, really fun.
Cool.
And we've been flying at 200 and 300 feet most of the time, but it can go to 10,000 feet if you wanted
Oh,
to.
wow.
But it's a really fun airplane to fly. It's completely different than flying an airplane.
Oh, I
And
bet.
so I live on the lakes out here in Florida, and I'm going to be taking people up on rides, and hopefully start that sometime around June of next year. It's been pushed back and pushed back because of COVID and other
Yeah.
issues going on. And so hopefully June, but I'm training and studying, and that's what I've been doing. I'm looking
That's so
forward
cool,
to
man.
it. Yeah. How
That's
about
awesome.
you?
I've just been trying to keep busy too. I bought a bass and I'm teaching myself how to play that, and that's been a lot of fun. I got it in July, and I could probably play about 20 songs or so right now.
Sweet.
Yeah.
What is your influence bass wise? Are we talking Red Hot Chili Peppers, or that's the
Um, man, I don't know if I have an influence really. I just like music a lot, you know, and I always wanted to play the drums, but I figured those would be a pain in the ass to take around with me when I'm on tour. So,
right?
I bought a bass, and I was like, it's probably the easiest one to learn, and
That's
it's easy to carry around, so I could take it to the hotel and stuff. And, uh, so yeah, it's been fun, man. I try to practice at least an hour a day. So,
cool. Like, what? Give me an idea of a song that you know.
let's see. I could do "Holy Diver" by Dio. It's a
Nice.
pretty good one.
All right.
Just learned
I
that one
love
the
it.
other day.
Yeah, I love it. So maybe some 80s metal influence.
That's actually probably the only '80s metal. Well, I could kind of play Judas Priest's how was the song? Breaking the Law.
Okay.
But I'm
I
trying.
see
I
you
like
doing.
the Ramones, like playing the Ramones and a Dead Kennedys song, and you know, some old school punk rock. You know,
I love it. I
yeah,
didn't know that you were interested in the bass. That is awesome.
yeah. It's been fun, man. So my nephew plays guitar, and my brother plays drums. So we jam together once in a while. It's pretty fun.
And is mom on lead?
No, none of us are yet. She should be though. We can call ourselves going postal.
So awesome. That would be great. And I saw you've been on the road with Tim. That's great. You've been
Yeah,
doing some loony bins,
yeah. We
and the crowd's been good. I mean,
what's
people have
that?
been coming out. People have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
coming
yeah,
out.
yeah. Um, yeah, Little Rock. I did Little Rock a couple weeks ago too. That wasn't too bad. Um, Decent crowds there. They're seating like every other table. That's how they're doing it. Um,
Yeah.
and then Tulsa took out a bunch of tables. And then I was just in Glendale, Arizona at Stir Crazy Comedy Club, and they were seating. I think they were doing every other table as well. And they have a
Okay.
small club to begin with that only holds like 106 maybe. So like 45 for them would be sold out right now. So
Isn't that crazy?
it's
And,
crazy.
and
Yeah.
comics will still post on Facebook, sold
So
out.
yeah.
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 Sold this bitch out.
Yeah, I'm doing that show in Greeley this Friday.
Yes. I'm
At
hopefully going to be
the
there too.
yeah, I hope
A
so,
week
man.
from today.
Yeah.
A week from then.
So yeah, hopefully Colorado doesn't get shut down. So hopefully you'll be able to go up there.
A bad feeling, but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Florida is exactly the opposite. No matter how many people die here, no matter how many people are hospitalized or become sick with a positive COVID test, they're never going to shut it down again. And
Hmm.
everything is 100%. The restaurants are
Really?
100%. Everything. Just
Do they require masks everywhere or no?
you're supposed to, but nobody does.
Oh,
It
really?
seems I would say if I were to put a number on it, maybe 60% of people here currently, whatever today is November 16th,
Yeah.
um, not many people wearing masks here in
Wow.
Florida. They're just,
They just don't care.
there's that COVID fatigue happening, that
Yeah.
people just don't see it. They don't care. And
Hmm.
it's a sad thing to see.
Hmm. Oklahoma was kind of like that too.
Mhm.
They weren't open 100% or anything like that, but there were a lot of people not wearing masks.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's amazing how a mask has become a political thing
Yeah.
these and Like I went to my sister's wedding. She'll never see this. I went to my sister's wedding and it was in Kansas. And my wife and I were there with my son, and we were all wearing masks. I said, the only way that I'm going is if I'm wearing a mask. This was an indoor wedding with like 55, 60 people in a barn. I'm like, I'm wearing a mask, you know, and people, we were the only ones, and one other, you know, there's a gay couple that was wearing a mask as well. And so I guess we were the only Democrats or smart people there in that Kansas barn watching a wedding. But, you know, they were all just looking at us. We were getting stared at. We were getting, you know, glances at us like we were idiots. Like, why are they wearing a mask? You know, it's really, I never thought that it would get this way. If we were just unified as a country for just 1 or 2 months, this thing would be gone and under control, unless people would die, but nobody gives a fuck.
Are you saying she won't see the show because she's in Kansas and they don't have internet access? She lives in a barn.
No, they're just deniers, you know. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. It's so weird. It seems like the some states are like that. Like in Arizona, like they were very strict about masks. Like they even required you to wear a mask if you went to a fast food drive-through.
Wow, good for them.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't see it as an infringement on my freedom. It's not. Nobody's telling me what to do. It's really for the human race. And if you don't see it that way, then, you know, you're walking around with blinders, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Send your letters to kurtfletcher@gmail.com.
Actually, don't. I know that guy who has that email address, and he gets pissed. I'm just kidding. No, there's a Kirk Fletcher. He has kurtfletcher.com. He's a guy that lives in Portland, Maine. He's actually a really cool guy. He gets some of my emails though sometimes, and he'll like forward them to me.
Have you contacted him and asked him to sell you the domain name? Like, can I have it?
No, I since a lot of people misspell Curt anyway, so I just went with funnyfletcher.com. That's a lot easier, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you know Matt Davis? Do you remember good old Matt Davis from Birmingham?
I know the name. I never met him though.
Okay. You know, you should always have a web address that is noticeable, you're gonna remember. And I think he has the most brilliant website address, which he tells the audience it's rhinoshit.com. Rhinoshit.com. And then it's the Matt Davis website when you go onto it. It's great. But yeah, Rhino shit.
That's awesome.
So anyway.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. What else is happening?
Well, my mom's email address is sue@kissmygrits.net. That's a pretty good one.
It's really good. Now she's going to get mail.
Yeah, I hope so.
Kurt, your messages.
So I hope you get to go to Colorado, man. That's where you started doing stand-up, right?
Yeah. I was, it was a contest called the Colorado, the CERTS College Comedy Competition. And the CERTS is going around to colleges with a professional comedian and then having amateurs like me go up on stage and do 3 to 5 minutes. And we convinced the guy, because I showed up with 7 minutes and I didn't want to do any less. And I didn't know how to cut. This is my first time doing stand-up ever. I'm like, I got 7 minutes, man. I don't want to cut it. So I had all the other comics around and I convinced this guy to let us all do 7 if you can do it. He goes, all right, there you got 5 to 7 minutes. So I took 3rd place. It was so PC, man. The white guy won. The black guy took 2nd. The Chinese guy and the Jewish guy tied for 3rd. Whatever. So, but you know, the first time you go on stage and you get that first laugh, you know, that first, it's like, it's a feeling that you'll never get again, you know, that, I said something and it was funny enough that all these people just fell over.
Yeah, like total strangers, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a great feeling, you know, and you want to do it again, but more and better and louder. And that's that thing that we try to attain, you know. So yeah, that was 30 years ago. That was on my birthday.
30 years, wow.
Almost 31 now in January. Jesus. I can't really count this year, can I? I've barely done it. But yeah. Yeah, I started doing that. And then I just got on stage wherever I could at Colorado State University. And then the day that I graduated, which was May of 1993, I hit the road as a stand-up. And and that was emceeing, like emceeing Funny Bones, emceeing the Funny Bone in Omaha and Des Moines and Davenport, like the Quad Cities one, and a couple in the, mostly Midwestern Funny Bones and Tribble gigs. And these Funny Bone dates were like, $150 for the week, and get your own place, you're not even staying in the condo, we don't have room for you. We don't put the MC up. And then sleeping in my car doing Tribble gigs in Idaho, so I graduated college and entered that life of, just traveling. And I don't think I could do it as an old man if I started as an old man.
For sure.
But back then I didn't know any better, I'm making $200 on this entire week. And if I show up with $5 when I get home, it's a success. And that's a lot of the times what happened. I mean, I went into debt. We all went into debt. Went into credit card debt, trying to promote yourself. I was sending out VHS tapes back in the day. And
I sent out some VHS tapes.
Yeah, at least 60 to 80 a year. That's a lot of postage and materials and promo to pack up and send it. Go and get a good relationship with your postal worker like you do.
Yeah,
but it was insane, and it was at a time when comedy was decreasing, when it was after the boom, when they were saying, get out of the business, kid, don't even get in.
So how did you find out about clubs and stuff back then?
It was all word of mouth. It was doing guest sets, and it was taking an investment week and going out and like, did you ever meet Ed Fiala from Chicago? Did you ever hear that name? Okay. Ed Fiala was he was part of a duo group called Ted and Ed. And they went on the Tonight Show, and that's a whole nother story. They did a bit from Second City or something like that was kind of a borrowed bit, and the only way that they could be on the Tonight Show was to do that bit. And but they kind of got in trouble after they did that bit, because the original owner said, hey, that's our bit. So anyway, Ed was a good friend of mine after that duo split up, and he's a great comic, and I met him on the road, and he became a father figure to me. And he set me up with guest sets in the Chicago and Indiana areas and all over the Midwest. And so it's referrals, he set me up, and I did at least 9 guest sets on a week off, when I was, I had family in Indianapolis. So I would do guest sets at Crackers when that was at a mall on the north side of Indianapolis, besides the one that was downtown. They actually had 3 clubs in town. Crackers did. They had 3 comedy clubs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I would do guest sets in Chicago. I did like 4 or 5 guest sets on one night, one time in that week, going to Zanies, Fun Seekers, Barrel of Laughs, which is Bill Brady's room, if you ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Oldest, running comedy room in the city of Chicago. And he ended up giving me a week. So I got a week from all of these different places. And then, the more comics you meet, the more contacts you make, and the more you hear of who you need to call and what you need to send them, or they call them up themselves and say, you got to work this guy. But it took me a good 3 to 5 years to even get another comic to be good enough for another comic to refer me, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
To get to that point, But it wasn't really until I started doing my a cappella music and until I started headlining with it at about, year 7 or 8, that I started headlining more and people started referring me more, and even had a really good spell of corporate shows that happened. It fizzled out right after 9/11. But I would say from 1998 to 2001 to 9/11 of 2001, I did at least 40 or 50 corporate shows over those 3 years.
Wow.
And, they were just lower end shows as far as money goes, not like the $20,000 level, but, each one of them was like $1,800 plus air. And I'm like, I'll do that all day.
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing to me. So I'm like, bring it, I'll do it. And half of them, I bid it hard. I had to learn really the hard way how to do a corporate show and not piss off the boss, and how to, use that whole dynamic towards my advantage. But yeah, long story short, I started in Colorado.
That's cool, man. So you used to work at Loonies a lot back then, right?
That's my hometown club. I
Cool.
grew up in Colorado Springs, and it was called Jeff Valdez's Comedy Corner when I was a
Oh
kid.
yeah.
And I used to sneak into that club. It was on a street called Union Street, and it was
Hmm.
in a strip mall. And they had an entrance and they had an exit from the showroom. And people would exit, there'd be a second show on a Friday night. So people would exit on the Friday night out of the showroom, and I would enter through the exit and just kind of hang out like I was a comic, doing a guest set or something.
Hmm.
And I would watch that show. So I would see people like Sinbad or Roseanne, people that were coming up.
Hmm.
I never saw Kinnison, but he did come through there. And this was called Jeff Valdez's Comedy Corner. They never kicked me out. I did it like 3 or 4 times, and they never booted me out.
Oh wow.
And then I got on stage there for the first time after I did there was a guy named, do you remember Lloyd? He was like a hippie guy, and he was the guy that ran their open mic night. I can't
No, I
remember
don't
his last
remember
name,
him.
but his name was Lloyd.
Hmm.
And he was the first guy. He put me on stage, and they were doing improv and everything. And I was already an actor in high school, so I was already versed in comedy. I just never had done a lot of stand-up. So
Hmm.
he saw how I interacted and did my show and my 5 minutes that I had, and he gave me a guest set on that Friday night at Loonies. So Thursday night at Loonies, and Gary Wilson was there. Remember
Oh
Gary
yeah.
Wilson?
Oh yeah.
And Gary, oh, God, I love that guy. I don't know what happened to him. I wish I could find him. I hope I can
Yeah, he
find him.
would always pop into Loonies like it seemed like once every 5 years when I was there, and he would just
He was
pop in.
great, and he was
Yeah, super
competitive
nice
too.
guy.
He was one of those competitive guys. He
Yeah.
was like, I just did a total different half hour than I just did over there. I just did it totally. And that show, I didn't even repeat a joke. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to say that someday. That's cool. But yeah, so I got on the shows there at Loonies and worked my way up when the club was at the mall where it is now. I'm forgetting the name of the damn mall that was called. Can't remember it for the life of me. But anyway, it's the big mall that's right next to it, and they're in the parking lot there, and it was called Laughs.
Was
when
it the
Gary
Citadel
Bynum
Mall?
had it. What's that?
Citadel Mall? Is that what it's called?
Nope, that's the one that's down the street.
Oh, okay.
Damn, I can't remember it for the life of me. I've killed too many brain cells. But Larry bought the club from his brother-in-law, the Bynum guy in Laughs in Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened with them. I don't want to know, but Larry ended up buying the club with Lauren, and then Eric bought it after that, right?
Yep.
So I started way back when Jeff Valdez was selling it to Gary Bynum, and I worked my way up to headliner when Bynum bought the club, and he said, "I'll MC ya," and I'm like, I just worked my way up to headline, man. He's like, well, that's all I can do is MC. I already have all my headliners. So I didn't get a chance to work my way up with him because he had already sold the club to to Larry and Lauren. And they already knew me as a headliner, and they knew that I could draw in Colorado Springs. So I got bumped again. I never worked as an MC again there. I'm like, screw you, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And I eventually, worked for Gary Bynum in Laughs, and he finally saw my show. And I killed it down there. It's such a great room. It's I love performing in that room, and we created a great relationship. After all of that crap 20 some odd years ago, we have a wonderful relationship working that room, and I love it. But yeah, just worked for great people. Great owners of Loonies like Larry and Lauren. And then when Eric took over, he's just an amazing owner. He's like a brother of mine now. It's good to have a friend. As a club owner, that you don't have to do all the politics and bullshit. You just say, when do you want your week? All right, it's in the book. We're done. There's no BS. Let's go, burn one and get out of here.
Hell yeah. So did you want to, were you wanting to be a comedian when you were a kid, or when did that start?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a football player.
Yeah?
I wanted to be a professional
Your son's playing football now, huh?
He is, and he wants to be
pretty well, isn't he?
Football player.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's probably going to be a comedian.
Yeah.
he's really dedicated to it. But I mean, look at me. I mean, I'm small and I was 120 pounds when I wanted to be a football player.
Yeah.
So life and reality took over from that. So when I went to college, I wanted to be an actor. I started out as an actor. I did musical theater. I wanted to go to New York and be an actor,
Okay.
or LA, somewhere to get on stage, and Broadway or film wasn't the biggest one, but I wanted to act. And when I got to college, I realized that in high school, I was the shit. I was popular. And when I was in college, I was a small fish in a huge pond, and it frightened me. And I honestly didn't do anything theater wise. I went on a scholarship for theater, and I didn't do any productions in theater my freshman year. None,
Oh, wow.
zero. I never did any productions in college at all, zero. And I regret it to this day, because it would have been an amazing experience. But I was chicken shit. There's no other word for it. Chicken shit. So then I finally, I was asked to do a couple scenes for some people in college, and got the bug again. And that's when I saw the poster for the Search College Comedy Competition. It was my 19th birthday, and I invited my entire dorm floor, and I did that 7 minutes, and I killed it. And that's when I made the decision that it's stand-up that I want to do. So I spent my entire high school career wanting to be an actor in musical theater, because I sing a lot in my show as well. And it morphed its way into stand-up comedy, and I'm glad it did. Everybody finds their niche, I think, in life, and I ended up in the right place.
Oh, yeah. Who are some of your comedic influences?
Gallagher, believe it or not.
Yeah?
It's funny because I wrote him a letter yesterday. I've waited
Really?
like 30 years to write him a letter, because I used to buy tickets to the Pikes Peak Center in Colorado Springs and watch him like 4 years in a row. I would drive myself from the time I was 16 to 20 years old, go see Gallagher at the Pikes Peak Center. It was an amazing experience. Same thing with Carlin, saw him perform there. My three main influences, I mean, people give Gallagher a bunch of shit. Because they think of just watermelon and smashing things on stage.
Yeah.
He is a bona fide comedian.
He is,
And if you go back and watch his specials, he starts it all off with comedy. It is stand-up comedy. For 90% of his show is stand-up. There might be some
I still remember one of his jokes was something like, he called the airport and he said, "I want this bag to go to Pittsburgh and this one to Cincinnati." And they're like, "We can't do that." He's like, "Bullshit, you did it yesterday."
Yeah, exactly. He's great, and his stand-up was really it hit me in the right place, where I found it really funny. And when I saw it live and in person, that's when I realized that I want to be this guy making this crowd and these people go nuts around me too. I love that. And Carlin was the same way. Carlin had me doubled over. He was the first one that had me just like, oh shit, I can't breathe. Oh. Stop talking. And he would just tag and keep tagging stuff, especially with a fart joke, So and that was the first time I ever had that kind of experience with my body, where somebody made me laugh so hard that it hurt. And that was Carlin. And then the third influence is Billy Crystal.
Cool.
Billy Crystal, not only was he a stand-up and he did characters and he's like the king of the act out, he had a family. And, he had a wife and children and a stable family relationship, and made me think that it was possible to do those kind of things. But I also had other influences that people don't know, like, a lot of other people don't know, like in Denver, a guy named Matt Berry, who I met when I was emceeing a series of shows at Colorado State, and we had all these comedians from the Comedy Works come up. So we had all these, and that's another way that I got on the road a lot, was all these Comedy Works comics came up to my little gig once a month. And that's where I met Matt Berry, who had a family, who had children, like 3 kids and a beautiful wife. And he was a stand-up, and he ended up writing for Roseanne and being a writer for Tim Allen for his shows, both of them. And had a wonderful career out in California as a writer. So these people, made me think that it was possible, and were influences, in so many ways, that this is something that's doable. If they can do it, I can do it.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of who else might be other influences. One guy that a lot of people don't know, I don't know if you've ever had the chance to meet him, is Mickey Joseph. Do you know
Oh yeah,
Mickey?
yeah. I know who he is. I never met him.
He's from San Francisco, and I met him in Portland when we were working Harvey's. And he's one of the most decent human beings I've ever met. But
Yeah.
he's one of those other guys that nobody knows who Mickey is really, and
Uh-huh.
he's such an underrated comic, and everybody should, because he used to be a clown. He was a classically trained clown.
Oh wow.
He's a good mime artist, and he's just so funny. He's just one of those other guys that can just bowl me over laughing. Just he keeps me in stitches,
Yeah.
and that's very
I was
hard to do with a
I
comedian.
was
It's hard.
supposed to work with him at Laughs years ago, but he right when he got into town, he flew into town. Right when he landed, he found out that I think one of his parents had died. So he had to like hop back on the plane and fly out right away.
Yeah.
So I never got to see him. Yeah.
And he's a good guy. He sacrificed his career in going out on the road to take care of his parents.
Oh yeah.
That's dedication. I
Mhm.
can only hope my kids do that for me someday if I
Yeah.
need it.
Todd Johnson does that too. Do you know Todd Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Super nice
A
guy.
lot of guys, Mellow Mike, and I don't know, you ever meet Mike Mello in North Carolina, in Raleigh?
Uh-huh.
Great comic. Another guy that people should know. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of great comics that nobody knows.
Oh, so many.
Ron Schock is another one.
Oh yeah, he passed away, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least I would say 8 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe
It's been a while.
7, 8 years ago, I think. But I mean, I saw Ron Schock do a 2-hour show and had everybody mesmerized.
Yeah.
And it's just somebody that never got famous that should have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember seeing him years ago, probably when I was in my early 20s.
Did he impress you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It just, after about 3 sentences, you go, well, I got to hear the rest of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just that kind of presence that is so good,
Uh-huh.
that you can only wish for. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you started incorporating music into your act around 7 or 8 years in?
It was about 5 years in.
Oh, 5 years in.
I
Okay.
always had musical things in my show, but I brought the a cappella stuff in 5 years in.
Okay.
And so in 1996, I did my first album with my high school vocal music teacher. And
Oh, cool.
over a 2-week period of time, we would go back to my high school. This is 96. So this is 7 years after I graduated high school. Went
Mhm.
back to the high school. He had all this recording equipment, and I had no money to pay for it.
Mhm.
And so I asked him to help me create this album of a cappella songs that I'd come up with. And I do all the vocals myself, and we record one at a time. And this is before digital, so it was
Yeah.
not as easy as it was back then, as it is now. Not even close. We had to do
Yeah.
it over and over, many, like hundreds of takes
Yeah.
to get it right. You just couldn't digitize it and move it. That wasn't invented yet. So I just had to, punch it in and do it over again, and hundreds of times. It was so frustrating, but we got it done in 12 days.
Oh wow.
And it was an 11-song album, and we did it in 12 days. We did
Cool.
one song a day, and we did like 12, 14-hour days. And it was
Oh,
the
wow.
hardest I've ever worked.
Mhm.
But that was my first album. We put the time into it. And I was never able to pay my vocal music teacher. I told him I would pay him $5,000 later that year. And I never was able to pay him until he retired about 10 years later. He retired from that high school. And I went back and surprised him, and I handed him a check for $5,000
That's cool.
when he retired. So,
Yeah.
because I felt bad for the last decade for not paying you for that 2 weeks of work that you put in, that we busted our ass. Here's $5,000.
Uh-huh.
And, he shit himself. It was cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, I'm just, it's the strangest feelings thinking back to that stuff. But yeah, I incorporated the acapella stuff and that was with a CD player. And then I did that for about 8 years. And then I ran into a DJ in Iowa. It was one of the Penguins clubs in the Quad Cities. And the DJ told me, you should get this thing called a Digiman. It's like a Digitech Digiman, and it records your voice. It's a digital thing, and you can do all your songs, and it can record your voice, and you can do what you do, but without a CD player. And it revolutionized my show because I wasn't using a stupid recording CD player of my music. I was now being able to create an a cappella song right in front of them.
Yeah.
So that really changed things a lot. It got better work for me, better clubs, better corporate work, and it improved my show. And I wish I listened to him a lot earlier. But yeah, 5 years in, full time. But that's the other thing about doing music is you get a label for being just a musical comedian.
Yeah.
But you've seen my show. 70% of my show is stand up. It's regular stand up, and your jokes.
Yeah. Actually, I remember you saying happy birthday to my mom
Nice.
the first time we worked together. I don't remember what year it was, but I was asking her today if she remembered that. She's like, I don't remember that. How can you not remember that?
It was memorable. That song was written by my high school vocal music teacher.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we stole it.
Cool.
Yep. But yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, it's been a challenge being a musical comedian. You're inviting yourself to being labeled, like I mentioned, but also it's harder to get work. Guys like Rich Miller, really hard to get him to understand what I did. And, it's hard to sell what I do on video. You have to see it.
Yeah.
And you have to feel my vibe. And you can't really feel my vibe on a video or even in this medium. Maybe you can. But it's, something that it's been an obstacle, but, I have to be true to myself. And the way that I'm happy on stage is incorporating musical stuff, kind of.
I do great at it too, man. I love, I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, holy shit, this is so cool. I just thought it was such a unique show, because, I was at Laughs almost every week, and then, it's mostly just straight stand up. And then you came in and did your thing, and I was like, this is fucking cool.
That was in Albuquerque, right?
Yeah.
Remember, I don't know if you were there that particular week, but Vilmouche was my feature act, and he was the one that was also the co-owner and booker of Wits End, and I was trying to impress him to get back into the club.
Yeah.
And the first night, my CD player was just fucking up, and Russ knew that I was trying to impress Vilmouche, and I had the shittiest show, awful show. And Russ comes up afterwards, and he's got his drink in his hand, and he's like, "That was a really good audition for Vilmouche." Just giving me shit for taking it in the ass when I was trying to impress this guy. He didn't care less that it meant so much to me. But the thing is, Vilmouche offered me a week headlining after that week at Laughs, so it worked out fine. But it's been a crazy ride. I mean, 30 years has gone by really, really, really fast. But when I look back at it, it's been filled with crazy memories too. I have a list of like 6 pages of memories from 30 years when I was stuck in a box in a cruise ship in Australia. When I came back for Carnival, I went on a cruise ship, and they sent me to Australia. And I was so bored in the little box that they put me in. I wrote down every memory that I've ever had from comedy from day one, and ended up with like 6 pages. And I hopefully make it a one-man show.
That'd be cool.
Just some crazy memories to go through, and crazy comics that I've met, crazy stories. I'm sure you have a ton of them as well.
Oh, yeah. What's cool? One of the coolest compliments I ever received was from you. And this was, probably 2004. And because we used to do an open mic before the Sunday show. And you told me, like, I hadn't even worked with you before. You said the highlight of your week was watching me perform at the open mic. And I thought that was so cool, because you got a standing ovation that week on one of the Saturday shows.
Right.
And I was like, that's fucking cool.
Well, I think you are so dedicated to your material, and you're one of those guys that's so comfortable with the silence. And don't take that the wrong way. I'm not saying the silence after your punchline. I'm saying with your delivery and your setups, you're comfortable with the silence until the big fucking payoff at the end, and just to watch your timing. Because to me, I am not that patient. I need something to give me a little boost along the way, just to keep me going in this joke. But just to watch you deliver a joke and your dedication to it. And even if it doesn't go well, never phased you. Did not, and that's the other thing. And I think I might have said that to you. I hope I did, but I'm
I
saying
think you
it
probably
now.
did, yeah.
You did not let them see you sweat, you know? And,
even though it totally did phase me.
couldn't tell. And he was cool as cucumber, man. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And other guys would have been just like, oh, this was great. I was in Springfield, Illinois, 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and scattered audience everywhere. And but still, there's a good 40 people in the room. And my opener, I don't know, he looks like he's been doing it 2 years. This dude could not buy a laugh. He got nothing. I mean, zero. He was supposed to do 20 minutes. He bailed at 5.
Oh, wow.
His face when he came off the stage, he looked like he was about to kill himself. He looked like he was about to cry. I felt so bad for him. He's like, this shit usually works, man. You know, he was so distraught, you know?
Yeah.
And so that stuff was a challenge for me. It was a really rough audience. It was rightfully so. I mean, it took me a while to crack that egg, but
yeah.
You know, but you were cool, man. I mean, most guys would let that crack them, and you just were like, all right, I got another one in my holster. Here, let's try this one out. So I was very impressed. I still am impressed.
I think I was just so used to bombing because I bombed all the time back then. You know, I don't know. I got used to it finally.
Well, have you noticed that sometimes the opposite happens too? Is that you kind of get so used to
you having great sets
and laughter and applause that you don't hear it either.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, my dog's nuts.
Oh, that's fine. Probably chasing after a postal worker.
but but you know what I'm saying. I mean, you were used to bombing, but you know, you kill it pretty much every show now. I mean, I'm sure we all have the once in a while shows, but you know, you get to that point where you get kind of in a pattern of your jokes, you know, that you, I don't think you do that. Do you mix it up a lot?
I usually don't because I have a hard time memorizing stuff.
Okay.
And now I've got my set exactly how I want it because I've got so many callbacks and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's the way I am. I'll stray, you know, and then I'll go back to the line and go back to the list and then stray if I want to and come back. But I think it's interesting. Everybody has that different process. Like Phil Palisol from Denver, who is
I know Phil.
Brilliant. I found out that, you know, he has a different, you know, he makes it look like it's, you know, he's making this stuff up on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
Seems so impromptu, but he has a formula for all of that is brilliant. And I don't even know how he does it.
Oh, yeah. I love watching him. He actually offered to buy one of my jokes from me.
Oh, nice.
When I first wrote it, because I was living in Denver at the time. And he was about to do like Craig Ferguson or something.
Have you ever sold a joke?
Yeah. I sold a joke to my buddy Tim for an asthma puffer. Because we were working in Reno together, and this is like 3 years ago, and we went to an open mic after one night. We were performing at the Laugh Factory, and we decided to hit this open mic, and we were just trying out some shit we normally weren't doing. And the next day, he asked me if I wanted to go to the gym with him, and I was like, oh, I don't have an asthma puffer. He's like, oh, I got an extra one. He's like, I'll trade it to you for a joke that you told last night. I was like, all right.
Really? So you obviously weren't too attached to that joke.
No, it was a joke that I only told at open mics, really, you know?
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, he uses it and it gets a good laugh and stuff. And I'm like, I'll be sitting in the back, like high-fiving myself, like, yeah.
I was offered by Steve Marmel he offered to buy a joke of mine. I never took him up on it because I didn't think he was serious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was just started out. I was maybe 2 years in, and he offered to buy it, and I just thought he was kidding.
Yeah.
And the joke is, I was talking about being Jewish, and usually you can tell somebody's Jewish by their last name. My last name is Feingold. It's a Jewish last name. And then it's like Schwartzman, Goldman, Feldman. If the last name ends with M-A-N, I guarantee it, they're Jewish. And I bet you didn't know that Superman is Jewish. Aquaman, Jewish. Wonder Woman. It's just, we Americanized the names. Are the Aquamans, the Supermans coming over for dinner tonight. So he thought that was the funniest joke in the world. And, back then I thought it was the funniest joke in the world.
Yeah.
But I wanted to keep it. I never thought that I would sell it to, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That's another thing. I mean, you kind of look back at your career and wonder where you would have gone if you would have taken a different direction, I was pretty close with Judy Marmel, and when she went to LA, I went to Minnesota pretty much. I just hit the road. She pretty much went to LA. I mean, she started her contest in Colorado in '94. Mm-hmm. That's when the first contest. Did you remember any of this? Did you know about this? It was called the Colorado Comedy Invitational. Titus was in this competition.
Okay.
Mary Ellen Hooper, Mark Moran, not Mark Maron, but Mark Moran.
Oh, really?
From New Jersey. He's since fallen off the scene a long time ago. Greg Barrett was in this contest. He was in the top 5. But Mary Ellen Hooper won it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And, but that was the first contest that I actually had some success in. And then Judy got, her contacts and, pretty much elevated herself to that LA scene from these contests and really started to become involved with that scene. So she moved to LA, I think in 95 or 96 or something like that, somewhere around there, between 94 and 96, somewhere around there. And that's when I was contemplating it. Like, should I follow her? Should I go with her? Should I go out there now and kind of go on these coattails? That's all it would have been. It's seriously all I would have been, is just riding on her coattails, and hopefully her influence would get me some opportunities. And she's done extremely well, as you know. I'm so proud of her. And that's the thing. She has always kept me in mind for certain things. Like when Disney Cruises was hiring, she called me up for auditions. When America's Got Talent had, their auditions for professionals, she called me up and said, you don't have to stand in line. You go right to this one room and get in, get out, you're done. And so she's always set me up with she's never forgotten about me, is what I'm saying. And I'm grateful. Cool. She's been amazing. I mean, even I'm on the lower end of the totem pole of the comedy spectrum, when it comes to income and, fame and all of that, LA, New York and all that. I'm not even in that scene. I'm just a working road dog. And it's cool that she's always remembered me.
That is cool. Yeah. You're hard to forget.
It's my profile.
Plus, you're one of the nicest guys in the business, You've always been super nice.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
I tried. That's what I hope for you. Like, I appreciate that, man. That's the one thing that I remember watching, and from the celebrities that I saw as a kid, that the ones that were genuine, that were down to earth, like Lionel Richie. I've never met him, but I've seen him interact with people. And my friend Tim Wilkins used to open for him. Well, he opened for him once or twice for these arena shows that he was doing last year. And just seems like the most down to earth, nicest guy. And it's just to be that famous and to be so cool and down to earth and be so humble about it, So Jay Leno was also that way, very humble, down to earth. Just talk to you like you're a human being.
Yeah.
So was Carlin. I met him 3 or 4 years before he passed away backstage before a show in Orlando. And I was nervous as hell. I was shaking like a leaf. I was so scared. Yeah. So scared. He's like, relax. Man. Relax, it's me. I can't help it, man. I'm so scared.
Yeah, I got to see him perform one time. I just had goosebumps the entire time. It was just crazy.
Where were you?
It was just outside of Albuquerque at a casino.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen him four times.
Yeah.
And a couple of the times at the Pikes Peak Center, but the one time that I saw him that I could not believe what I was seeing was, and he didn't care anyway, by the way, he took it in the ass. It was at Ballard's, and it was a crowd of at least 1,200 people, and he was bombing. It was really? Not going well. This was during his really angry, bitter phase too. I mean, he was really, anti this, and it was really the height of his anger, I think.
Yeah.
And so it was a really bitter set.
Yeah.
But I took it as funny, but this audience did not. I'd never seen, I just didn't think that would happen, to watch, one of my idols not do very well, but he didn't give a shit. He did not give a shit. He's like, the check will clear.
Yeah.
But
how crazy, man. I've been watching a lot of his specials lately on this app called Tubi. They've got a bunch of his specials on there. So I've watched probably 6 or 7 the last week or so. Just
brilliant, so prolific and brilliant. And he was one of those guys that had to memorize things. He was all scripted,
Yep.
And had to make it seem like it's the first time he was saying these things in his delivery, but it was all scripted. I mean, if you watch show after show after show, every kind of segue is part of the formula.
Yeah, even I was talking to someone about that. Even the way he moves and everything is scripted, because he used to he would practice in the mirror before he would go on and do it exactly how he wanted it.
That's the one thing. I mean, known as one of the most brilliant comedians ever, but still had a piece of paper on stage.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that.
Troy Baxter's always been one of my favorites, and he always takes notes on stage.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
Trying to go way far back.
Oh, I bet, man.
Like to the comedy club, to George McKelvey's. Did you never know about George McKelvey's?
I knew George. Yeah. I knew George pretty well.
Yeah. He had that comedy club on Hampton Avenue in Denver.
Yeah.
And at one time called George McKelvey's, and then when he sold it to Tim Wardwell, they just called it the Comedy Club.
Yeah.
And Troy and I were he started before me, and it was kind of a race to who was going to headline first at the club. It was I think he's never really liked me because of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was a competition thing, and he might have thought I wasn't ready. It was like, you're really going to headline this Feingold guy? Come on.
Yeah.
But it was competitive back then. Everything was competitive. There were only 52 weeks at 2 clubs. Well, 3 clubs back then.
Okay.
Comedy Works, it was Wits End, it was the Comedy Club on Hampton, and just 3 clubs in Denver. That was it.
Oh, wow. I think that's what they got now is 3.
The 2 Comedy Works and the Improv.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep. I guess that's all they need, really.
Yeah. I do miss Wits End, though.
I heard there's another one in Colorado Springs now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's one downtown Colorado Springs that I think Carlos Mencia opened up.
Wow.
I think it was about a month ago or so. I think Chris Fonseca was there, but I don't know anything about the club or if it's even still going.
Well, we already hit the mark where I was supposed to stop. We're at.
I talked my head off, man.
No, I love it though. I love chatting with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. That's super cool of you.
It was a pleasure connecting with you again. I hope you got something good.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, just talking to you is always good, man.
Likewise.
So, yeah, best of luck to you, man. I'm excited for that new little airplane thing. That's cool, man. That's such a cool thing.
Well, if you're coming down, you're always welcome.
Cool.
We got an in-law suite above the garage for you, and you're always welcome. Anytime on the road you're passing through, you got a place.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
We'd love to take you boating, and hopefully by the next time you come down, we'll have an airplane in the backyard.
That'll be cool, man.
Right on. All right. Be good, man.
Yeah. Great talking to you, buddy.
All right. Take care, Fletch.
Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It's always a lot of fun talking to Ron. He's a great dude. Last weekend, I was in Glendale, Arizona, doing some shows at the Stir Crazy Comedy Club, which is a really cool club. My friend Tom is the owner, and he built the club, so it'd be great for comedy. Like just it's such a good setup for comedy shows, and I love performing there. It's always fun. Had a good time. Got to work with my buddy Tim Gaither, so it's always awesome. This week I'm going to be in Greeley, Colorado, headlining at the Millennium Event Center on Friday nights. Pretty excited about that. Going to work with my buddy Don Morgan. So That's always a good time. It's always fun to get up to Colorado and do some shows. Uh, then after that, I don't have anything booked for the rest of the year. So I don't know. I guess I'll just take some time to do some writing and stuff. Thanks again for tuning in. If you want to donate to the podcast, you can. Venmo at Funny Fletcher. And also thanks to John Singleton for the music. As always, from Anesthesia, go check him out. Go vote for him on the COVID cage match on 94rock.com. And thanks to Jarrett Reddick, who's working on the intro music as well. And that's it for this week. We'll talk to you next week. See you later.